Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I thought we could do a full face of some Chanel favorites. That's always a good look here on this channel. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. So as many of you know, I'm a makeup artist and also esthetician, and I now have an online beauty consulting service, which is where you get to talk to me one-on-one and you get to ask me any makeup or beauty concern you might have. Some people talk to me about the products they already own, because sometimes people buy products and then don't know how to wear them or where to place them, or sometimes people want advice about products to buy, but they want an unbiased opinion because I work for myself. I don't work for any brand in particular, so I will just give you my best advice. So if you want to make an appointment, click the link in the description box down below. So the eyeshadow, or the centerpiece of the video, will be Warm Memories, which came out last spring. I tried to pan this palette here last year. I did not succeed, but I have used it a whole lot, so this will be our centerpiece. Before we get into the eyeshadow, I want to do a bit of skincare. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Hydra Beauty lip balm. This is just a very ultra nourishing lip balm. I think it's fabulous. And then I'm going to go into my Hydra Beauty Essence Mist just to zhuzh myself up a bit. This smells phenomenal. It smells like peaches and melon, and I love the fine little mist it gives you. It's just so fabulous. Now before I go into the shadow, I'm going to use a liner, and this is the Stylo Ombre Contour number 38 Burgundy Perlé. This came out this year, and I think that it'll just work nicely with the colors in this palette here. I saw Lucia Pica do this a lot on a few of the Chanel and We Love Coco Instagram accounts, where she would just layer liner and then eyeshadow and then just layer more textures on each other to create a beautiful look. So that's what we're doing today. I haven't always loved all of Lucia Pica's creations, but I do really like her artistry, and I like that she taught us to layer everything. It does look crazy for a second, but I'll fix it in a minute. Now I'm using the dual-ended definer smudger brush, and I'm just blending this out. So I'm sure that a lot of you have heard the rumor, I've heard the rumor too, that Lucia Pica may no longer be the artistic creative director for Chanel. I haven't heard anything official from anyone, but I've heard the rumor, I've seen it, but I haven't heard any official confirmation on the day that I'm filming, May 5th. But I will let you know if I hear anything. I honestly don't even know who they would pick to replace. I mean, there are many, many very talented makeup artists out there, so I don't know who they would pick. Now going into this shade here, I'm going to place this on the lid where I already placed the liner. I have really enjoyed certain creations from Lucia Pica, like this Warm Memories palette. I think is beautiful, and Candeur et Expérience still remains one of my all-time favorite palettes. It's just that always seeing the same hues, to me, got not very interesting. You know, I like red, I like every color in the rainbow, but it's not very fun when you can predict what the colors will be every season. And I know some people have absolutely loved all the red and pink shadows, and some people have not. And I think that's just the gamble you take if you always create from the same color palette, you know? Like, I love blue eyeshadow. I absolutely love it. But I know it's not for everyone. But if I had a makeup brand and every single release was blue eyeshadow, even the people who like blue might get sick of me after a certain point of time, you know? And now I'm using the opposite end here to blend, and I'm dipping back into this top color right here. But, you know, to be at that level of like artistic creative director for a brand like Chanel is a huge feat. I mean, I don't even understand how you can even do that. I guess it's a lot of hard work. making the right connections, being at the right place at the right time. And, you know, like I don't think there's, like I'm not criticizing Lucia Pica's creative abilities because clearly she has some. I just think that, I don't know, clearly she's obsessed with red and reds and every shade of red imaginable. I just think it's a shame she doesn't expand to other colors sometimes. But then when she came out with the Water Fresh tint, I think 2 summers ago, that is still one of my all-time favorite foundations, even though it's really light. I think it's such an amazing product. And her 9 shadow palettes, I know some of the colorful ones weren't for everyone, but I really enjoyed it. And then her Les Beige 9 shadow palette, that was stunning. I'm taking the same burgundy pearl liner from before and just tracing it under the lashes. I think it's such a shame that the 9 shadow palette from the Les Beige collection isn't permanent. Like, that would sell constantly. It's such a good palette. So many good colors. Like, they didn't reinvent the wheel with that color story, but they were all so good. Oh, I love it. And I feel bad that some people missed out because it was limited edition for some reason. But yeah, that one was absolutely magnificent. I just blended that out and then went back into that same matte color that I placed on top and blending it on the bottom here. Now I'm going into this dark color here, and I'm going to place this directly in the orbital bone, like in the socket here, just to deepen it up a bit. And I'm going to try to control my extra jean and not turn this into a huge smoky eye. I also saw that Chanel is coming out with a new fragrance very soon, part of the exclusive line like Paris Venise, Paris Deauville. They're coming out with Paris Edimbourg, and I think it's supposed to be unisex. I mean, all fragrances are technically, but this one here is like marketed as, and I'm interested to test it out. I think like the bottle itself looks green, like the liquid is green, so I'm wondering if it's going to be like a fresh, zesty fragrance. I like fresh green fragrances. They just often don't like me. I don't know if it's the patchouli, sandalwood, musk combination, but it often ends up turning into bug spray on me for some reason. But that is definitely one I would try a sample on. I won't just blind buy it. That's just too risky. Now I'm just going to very softly blend this out. Okay, so now I'm going into this beautiful peachy color here, and I'm only placing this on the direct center here. And this is sort of going to help create a halo effect on the eye. And now what I'm going to do is I have a little bit of the darker color left here on the definer smudger brush, and I'm just going to place a little bit on the inner corner, which I know is counterintuitive, but I just want to have a little bit of the darker colors on the outside and inside here, and have the lighter color on the center for that sort of halo effect. All right, now going into a waterproof liner. This is Matte Taupe. I love this shade. It's this like deep espresso brown that's not black, but it gives you that same sort of like deep dark color without being totally black. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the waterline on top, and then a little thin line on the top of the lashes as well. Now I'm going into the Volume de Chanel, which is one of my all-time favorite mascaras of all time, and I'm going to go on and put on lots and lots of mascara. Alright, so for today's foundation, I do feel like I want a bit more coverage. So I'm going into my Sublimage L'Essence de Teint. This is in the shade B30. As far as complexion goes, I'm pretty much B30 across the board when it comes to Chanel, which is kind of nice to know. This is definitely one of my more luxurious and also expensive foundations. This is part of like the Sublimage foundation. I also love the original one, the ones that come in a jar, but this one here has much more coverage than the original one. And I think the original one has like more luminosity and is maybe a little bit more wet than this one here. So this is one pump, and this is the brush that comes with the foundation. That is kind of nice, although if you buy a backup of the foundation or a second one, you know, you end up having a second brush, which can be fine. You know, sometimes I use these little brushes for skincare, like maybe not this one here, but more of those like paddle foundation brushes that can be used to apply masks. You can also gift them to friends. You can throw them in a little gift bag. If you're like me, you collect a lot of samples and you can't use all of them. So sometimes I just create a little gift bag for friends and throw these in there at the same time. Okay, moving on to concealer. Now, I know when it comes to this category, I always cheat and I always use Clé de Peau, but for today's video, I'm going to use Chanel. I have one of their palettes Essentiel. I have the shade 160 Beige Medium. And using the blender corrector brush, I'm going to take some product, place it, and then use the blending side afterwards. Now I'm just going to blend this out, and I did let this just sit on the skin for a minute just to offer a bit more coverage. Now for the face powder, I'm going into my Chanel Les Beige. I use the number 20 for a face powder. I just like it to be a little bit lighter. I find the 30 is like verging. It's not bronzer on me, but it's just a little bit too dark. So 20 is my Les Beige face powder. So this is the one that came out, I think, 2 years ago. Every year or so, they always just come out with like a new package for the Les Beige, but it's the same powder. I am going in with a touch-up brush number 104. I've used this before in the past for foundation, but it's kind of just like an all-over complexion brush. You can use this to blend out or buff out foundation. You can use this for concealer. You can use this for powder. I like it as like a multi-purpose, multi-use brush. So I'm just going to just bounce a little bit of powder on the areas that tend to move a little bit or get a little bit more shiny throughout the day. Now for the blush, I'm going into my Fleurs de Printemps, which as you can see has been very well loved in the few recent months that I've owned this. This came out this year. It's a beautiful mix of blush and highlighter. You can go in directly to the blush and then go into the highlighter over top. You can swirl it together. You can do whatever you want. I love it. I just realized I don't technically have a blush brush from Chanel, so I'm going to go ahead and use one of my BK beauty brushes. This is the 108, and I like to swirl. I like to go in here and there and just mix and just create a beautiful color here. The highlighter isn't a blinding highlighter. It's just a really beautiful glow, like a candlelit glow. It reminds me of the Hourglass blushes. So you can figure it out on your own. You can sort of mix and match and cocktail this how you want, but it won't be too intense. And then for the lip, I'm going into my Rouge Allure Ink Fusion, and this is the shade Pink Brown. I remember being obsessed with it when it first came out, and I've kind of forgotten about it, but it's definitely a favorite of mine. So one thing you have to remember is you have to give this a good shake before using it, because there are oils in here, and if you don't shake it, the pigments and the oils separate a little bit. So just give it a good shake before applying. Now let's top it off with a fragrance. I have here Paris Venise. This is part of the exclusive line. I think this is an eau de toilette, but this fragrance to me smells like wealth. Something about this smells wealthy, expensive, but very understated, not like flashy in your face. It smells like cashmere, soft vanilla, a little bit of musk. It's a little bit sensual. it's a lovely fragrance. So this is my perfume for today's look. All right, I think this is it for today's video. It gives me a sort of pinkish, plummy vibe. It makes me think of flowers in spring. I really like this look. I wasn't exactly sure where I was going with it, but I think mixing that burgundy pearl liner with this warm memories palette just creates a really nice hue, and I like this little halo effect that I created. So let me know what you think of my full face of some Chanel favorites. Do you want me to do this for other brands as well? Sound off in the comments below. If you're new to my channel, please make sure that you subscribe, and you can also hit that notification bell on the side so you can be notified whenever I post a new video. Well, all right guys, I think this is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for stopping by. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.